All right, sports fans, we're back. Today you're going to read for 10 minutes, and I want you to think about what has your character sacrificed? What does he or she give all their all for? Just like Antonio and Felix, they dream, they sleep, they rap, everything for their life is all about boxing. What is your character consumed with, obsessed with, love, and want out of life? I'll meet you back in 10. All right, we've got tickets to the show. Antonio and Felix battling it out to see who's going to go to the Golden Gloves to make a life out of boxing. So you just need two things. You need your notes, your little handout from yesterday. So grab those. We only have a couple things left. Today is kind of the goodies, the exciting part, action lines. Today I want you to find two of your favorite action lines from the fight scene. And the fight scene goes on for a while. The author describes, every punch, beads of sweat exploding from the ends of their hair, faces getting ground up like hamburger meat. It's pretty raw. And then he uses a huge amount of figurative language. So you just need to identify three. So while you're finding those two pieces, both our digital link to the story, Amigo Brothers, looks like this. And we left off on, we read page 10. So we're at the top of page 11. So you can scroll and roll to find that. And then your note sheet will meet you right there. While you're doing that, I'll play a little Rocky clip for you so you can enjoy. All right. We don't want anybody and try out some of these moves. You don't want anybody to take you down and steal your slushie at Wesco. Okay, it's good stuff. Try out some jabs. All right, here's an American classic for you. So let's join us. Let's get back together on the top of page 11. And this is right after, ladies and gentlemen, the fight is about to begin. And so I'll meet you right there. Actually, I'm going to back up and start at the bottom of page 10 just so it makes sense. Interwoven with the speeches were the sounds of the other boxing events. After the sixth bout, Felix was much relieved when his trainer Charlie said, "Time change, quick knockout, this is it, we're on." Waiting time was over. Felix was escorted from the classroom by dozens of fans in white t-shirts with the word Felix across their fronts. Antonio was escorted down a different stairwell and guided through the roped-off path. As the two climbed into the ring, the crowd exploded with a roar. Antonio and Felix both bowed gracefully and raised their arms in acknowledgement. Antonio tried to be cool, but even as a roar was in its first birth, he turned slowly to meet Felix's eyes looking directly into his. Felix nodded his head, and Antonio responded, and both as one just as quickly turned away to face his own corner. Bang, bang, bang! The roar turned to stillness. "Ladies and gentlemen, signores y signoras," the announcer spoke slowly, pleased at his bilingual efforts. "Now the moment we have all been waiting for, the main event between two fine young Puerto Rican fighters, products of our Lower East Side." "Lower Side!" called out a member of the audience. "In this corner, weighing 134 pounds, Felix Vargas!" "And in this corner, weighing 133 pounds, Antonio Cruz!" The winner will represent the boys' club in the Tournament of Champions, the Golden Gloves. There will be no draw. May the best man win." The cheering of the crowd shook the window panes of the old buildings surrounding Tompkins Square Park. At the center of the ring, the referee was giving instructions to the youngsters. "Keep your punches up. No low blows. No punching on the back of the head. Keep your heads up, understand? Let's have a clean fight. Now shake hands and come out fighting." Both youngsters touched gloves and nodded. They turned and danced quickly to their corners. Their head towels and dressing gowns were lifted neatly from their shoulders by their trainer's nimble fingers. Antonio crossed himself. Felix did the same. Bang bang! Round 1. Felix and Antonio turned and faced each other squarely in a fighting pose. Felix wasted no time. He came in fast, head low, half hunched toward the right shoulder, and lashed out with a straight left. He missed a right cross as Antonio slipped the punch and countered with 1, 2, 3 lefts that snapped Felix's head back, sending a mild shot coursing through him. If Felix had any small doubt about their friendship affecting their fight, it was being neatly dispelled. Antonio danced, a joy to behold. His left hand was like a piston, pumping jabs, one right after another with seeming ease. Felix bobbed and weaved and never stopped boring in. He knew that at long range he was at a disadvantage. Antonio had too much reach on him. Only by coming in close could Felix hope to achieve the dreamed-of knockout. And Antonio knew the dynamite that was stored in his amigo brother's fist. He ducked a short right and missed a left hook. Felix trapped him against the ropes just long enough to pour some punishing rights and lefts into Antonio's hard midsection. Antonio slipped away from Felix, crashing 2 lefts to his head, which sent Felix's right ear to ringing. All right, so our author, he's describing like pretty much every punch. It's going blow by blow. And who's winning? Can't tell, right? It's very even. And so I'm going to turn page 13 over to you, and this is your goal for reading. I want you to decide, who do you think has the advantage when you get to the bottom of the page, who's got the upper hand in the fight? And if you finish early, definitely put in what is your favorite line of action or some action verbs that you just love, okay? So one, maybe just one from that page. That would be awesome, all right? Go ahead and enjoy that page, and I will meet you back. So teachers, pause. Okay, we're back. On 13, I just love just a couple of things here. I love the onomatopoeia, the bang bang. I love the trainers talking like, you got to get in there. He's going to chop you up from way back. It just makes the story, the fight come to life. I think that's so cool. And then another thing that I really like is what is called imagery. The fact that we can see what's happening in the fight, which is quite cool. A flurry forcing Felix to give ground, bobbing and weaving, punching his gloves together, waiting the rush, lights exploding inside Felix's head. It's just cool. All right, so I'm going to meet you on the top of 14, and I will continue reading. All right to the head slowed Antonio's pretty dancing. He answered with his own left at Felix's right eye that began puffing up within 3 seconds. Antonio, a bit too eager, moved in too close, and Felix had entangled him into a rip-roaring, punching, toe-to-toe slugfest that brought the whole Tompkins Square Park screaming to its feet. Rights to the body, lefts to the head. Neither fighter was giving an inch. Suddenly, a short right caught Antonio squarely on the chin. His long legs turned to jelly. His arms flailed out desperately. Felix, grunting like a bull, threw wild punches from every direction. Antonio, groggy, bobbed and weaved, evading most of the blows. But suddenly his head cleared. His left flashed out hard and right, catching Felix on the bridge of the nose. Felix lashed back with a haymaker right off the ghetto streets. At that same instant, his eye caught another left hook from Antonio. Felix swung out, trying to clear the pain, and only the frenzied screaming of those along ringside let him know that he had dropped Antonio. Fighting off the growing haze, Antonio struggled to his feet, got up, ducked, and threw a smashing right that dropped Felix flat on his back. Felix got up as fast as he could in his own corner, groggy but still game. He didn't even hear the count. In a fog, he heard the roaring of the crowd who had seemed to have gone insane. His head cleared to hear the bell sound at the end of the round. He was glad. His trainer sat him down on the stool. In his corner, Antonio was doing what all fighters do when they are hurt. They sit and they smile at everyone. The referee signaled the ring doctor to check the fighters out. He did so and gave his okay. Cold water sponges brought clarity to both amigo brothers. They were rubbed until their circulation rang free. Bung! Round 3. the final round. Up till now, it had been tic-tac-toe, pretty much even, but everyone knew there could be no draw, and this round would decide the winner. This time, to Felix's surprise, it was Antonio who came out fast, charging across the ring. Felix braced himself, but he couldn't ward off the barrage of punches. Antonio drove Felix hard against the ropes. The crowd ate it up. Thus far, the two had fought with mucho corazón. Felix tapped his gloves and commenced his attack anew. Antonio, throwing boxer's caution to the winds, jumped in to meet him. Both pounded away. Neither gave an inch, and neither fell to the canvas. Felix's left eye was tightly closed. Clear red blood poured from Antonio's nose. They fought toe-to-toe. The sounds of their blows were loud in contrast to the silence of a crowd gone completely mute. The referee was stunned by their savagery. Bang, bang, bang! The bell sounded over and over again. Felix and Antonio, they were past hearing. Their blows continued to pound on each other like hailstones. Finally, the referee and the two trainers pried Felix and Antonio apart. Cold water was poured over them to bring them back to their senses. They looked around, and they rushed toward each other. A cry of alarm surged through Tompkins Square Park. Was this a fight to the death instead of a boxing match? The fear soon gave way to wave upon wave of cheering as the two amigos embraced. No matter what the decision, they knew they would always be champions to each other. Bang, bang, bang! Ladies and gentlemen, señores y señoras, the winner and the representative to the Golden Gloves Tournament of Champions is... The announcer turned to point to the winner, and he found himself alone. Arm in arm, the champions had already left the ring. What is that? An ending like that? The first time I read this, I read it out of the textbook, and I wanted to throw the book at the wall. You didn't leave us with a winner? Who's going to the Golden Gloves? Who's going to the show? That's just a cop-out ending. And so I understand the fury and the lack of tidiness and closure and rage you might feel about not having that. But why? We have to ask ourselves, why did our author do that? Why didn't he give us an ending? So I want you to talk to your neighbor. Why didn't Perry Thomas reveal a winner at the ending? Just take 30 seconds. So if we have a winner at the end of the story, this is a story about what? A story about winning. A story about boxing. But instead, they walk off arm in arm. And so instead, it becomes a story about friendship. But did they hold back in that ring? Did they hold back for a second? No. They went full bore, all out, ham on each other. Everything they had. They fought. They have never, Antonio has never been as bloodied or bruised. Felix never as swollen and sore and at the hands of their best friend, they absolutely pummeled each other. They gave everything they had. And so they had the best of both. Everything they had in the ring, and at the same time, they walk off with their friendship intact. So it's a story about giving your all. And really, a friendship should be able to maintain and outlast anything if it's a true friendship, which is really cool. And so I'm going to give you just a few moments, and I want you to go back in the story and find your favorite two action lines you love, and then some examples of figurative language. As I comb through, bang, 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 that's onomatopoeia. That's beautiful figurative language. So I'm going to take that from you. You can't use that one. And one more I'll show you. Their blows continue to pound like hailstones. When you use like or as, a simile. But there's so many more. So find your own. And then just thinking about great action lines. There's pretty much anything in there. Throwing wild punches, flashing out. I like where he talked about glowing glove burns showing angry red on Antonio's midsection. I can see that, right? If you take a blow and all of a sudden the blood rushes to that area and it feels hot and it's almost stinging, the writer describes what it feels like to be punched and to be hit. Glowing glove burns showing angry red against the whiteness of his midribs. That is awesome imagery. So you're going to have about 3 to 5 minutes to make sure you've got awesome action lines and then some pieces of figurative language. And then I'll meet you back. Okay, tomorrow we're going to have a quiz on plot. And so in Google Classroom, we've shared with you a plot diagram. It's partially filled in, and so go ahead and find that now. And if you need to pause to find that, we can. We're going to review just what are the different elements and parts of plot, and then we're going to identify them for this story. Okay, so I'll meet you back in just a second. Okay, so the very first part of plot is the exposition, and it's simply where the characters and the setting is introduced. So in this story, where are we? Where are we? Where are we in the world, and who are our characters? So in the very beginning, we meet Antonio and Felix, teen boxers living in Lower East Side. Okay, Antonio and Felix, a couple of teen boxers, are just living on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So kind of a rough area, but we know they've got big dreams. They're young athletes. They want to go to the Golden Gloves. So that's where we meet our two kids, our characters. But what is a complicating moment? What complicates the story and really springs all of the action forward? Really, we don't have a plot until this event happens. So this is called the complication. Sometimes we refer to it as the trigger event. Boom, something goes forward. So they find out they have to fight each other. So finding out they have to fight each other, this wall is rising between them. And so what do they decide to do? They choose to separate. So the fighters So I just kind of, you can put this in your own words. Yours does not have to be exactly like mine. Just kind of get the gist of it. But the fighters choose to separate to train for their fight against each other. That's kind of what they're doing to deal with it. So after they separate, then we just have leading up to the fight. And leading up to the fight is really just about how they train and they psych up, right? We know that Felix goes to watch a movie. Antonio spends some heavy time kind of mulling it over on his roof, doing those fancy moves, bobbing and weaving, throwing a barrage of punches, right? So far we met our boxers living on Lower Side, big dream, fighting each other. They can't deal with the anxiety, the pressure. They choose to separate. And then after that, they're training, they're psyching up. Then comes the morning, the big fight. The Thompson Square Park is filled with anticipation. The fight begins. Friendship is not affecting. Boom, they just go out there with everything they have. Round one. And then the fight continues to intensify in brutality, in force, in aggression. We get round two, round three. Where do you think is the highest point of emotional tension in this fight? Where literally the crowd goes mute and they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like literally on the page, everything is holding its breath because it's like, what? So bang, 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 the fight is over, but they're continuing to pound each other. Boom, boom, boom. The referee, stunned at their savagery, they rush toward each other. Everybody thinks that it's going to be a death match and they rip each other's faces off. So they rush at each other, but indeed it is not to rip each other's faces off. It is to hug and to embrace following the fight. So they rush each other. I will just put they rush each other in round 3. At the end, or really after the fight. I'll change that. They rush each other after round 3. They don't even hear the bell anymore. Their ears are ringing. They've been so brutalized. They rush each other after round 3. And very simple. Following action, the announcer comes on to decide the winner, and nobody's there, right? They walk off arm in arm. Okay, so we've got, there's our story. We talked about, is this a person versus person conflict? At the surface, it does. It seems like it's Antonio versus Felix. But is that really what this is about? When Felix can't sleep and he's walking the streets and he's thinking about the movie, or Antonio's passing some heavy time on his roof, what is the struggle really against? Is it person versus society? Person versus nature? Person versus person? Or person versus self? What do you think? And we decide for this piece, it's really an internal battle. It is person versus self. And why? They have to find the strength to fight for their dreams, to take down your friend, to put your dreams first. And they do it. They put their friendships aside and they go all out. But in the end, their friendship is strong enough to handle that. And I feel like that is a very powerful message. True friendship can endure all things. If it's a true friend, they'll be there for you no matter what, and they'll support your dreams, and they'll be your loudest cheerleader, and they won't want to take you down. They don't want to see you fail. They want to support you to the ends of the earth. Okay, and then where are we in the world? We are in Manhattan, or you could just say New York City, the Lower East Side. And Manhattan, or New York City, has many different sectors, boroughs, neighborhoods. Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, but this one is in Manhattan on the Lower East Side. Okay. And I'm just going to put for genre that it is realistic fiction, because this could happen. Okay, so there's our piece. And I'll make it bigger so you can see it. And teachers, if you need to pause to get these notes, let's go ahead and do that. And so tomorrow's our plot quiz. I just recommend studying just the different elements of plot, that you know what these terms are, like what is exposition, what's the complication in a story, what is falling action, and then also that the conflict, and then the theme or the message. One thing we forgot about is what is the point of view as a story told? Is it first person, where just Antonio is telling it, saying I or me? Or is it third person? Both kids, they, he, Antonio, Felix. Third person is where the author gives you kind of like a bird eye perspective, and you get to see both characters and how they go after their problems. So best answer for this is a third person narrative. Okay, so here are your notes, and the rest of the time is yours to study for tomorrow's plot quiz. I'll see you then. Thank you.